Forza, Inspire, Vista, Sunstar, Streamline. Wait, Rugby, these are all kinds of Winnebagos. Well, the last one's not. Yes, there's a difference. No, not like a donut. It's a spirit creature. Wait, did you think this was a bagel? You know what? Fine, yes. Go get some bagels for lunch. I will rewrite the script. Let's talk about Wendigos. Wendigos are mythological creatures or evil spirits originating from the folklores of the Plains and Great Lake native. Meant to be more of a cautionary tale about greed and cannibalism, they really are some of the creepiest folklore critters that I think I've ever come across. Maybe it's just because where I grew up, maybe if you've never been out in the woods during a snowstorm, it's probably the last thing you ever want to see. And while pop culture and modern horror genres have leaned into the forest spirit vibe, the original description had the Wendigo looking more like a withered and rotten corpse, more like a ghoul or a husk than a creepy elk monster. Did I mention the story about it eating its own feet? Yeah, it's a little weird. If you do want to play a Wendigo, it might be worth noting you're probably going to play it as an evil character. Straight up. Like if a vampire woke up and chose violence, which I guess they always do, but like ultra violence. Well, let's talk about that later. While the Wendigos in 3rd edition were based off of those old tales of Wendigos, homebrews and lores in D&D today are based more around the modern pulp culture references of Wendigos. Man-eating monsters, spirits that float around in the frigid waste looking to satiate their hungers. They've been described as zombie werewolves. Or would that be werewolf zombies? I'm not sure where the prefix and the suffix go there. If you really want to get into it, I'd have to be a human werewolf zombie. Assuming you were a human and a wolf thing. Oh man, this is complicated. Go watch the other video. But I think that's a good way of going into this build. Whereas most creatures that are bitten by were creatures take on the personifications of that creature, Wendigos take on the personification of the curse permanently. More akin to ghoul fever or the bite of a verguli, Wendigo bites are not meant to be taken lightly. Creatures of pure madness and cruelty have an array of magical abilities that allow them to confuse, befuddle, wear down the minds of their prey, and I quote, "Whatever language this creature knew before transforming into a Wendigo were forgotten and replaced with Sylvan. These poor souls, when killed by or overtaken by the madness of the Wendigo, don't become were creatures at a full moon or get weird wolf powers. They are consumed by the curse, and the curse gets to live with their body." And this is the one time where I think the template system is a little bit off. If you want to play a character that died and turned into a Wendigo, I think your old character is dead. Maybe you keep your player levels, but your race is just gone and consumed by the madness, which in itself is kind of cool. A clean slate to move on as a horrible monstrosity. Ugh, spooky. Let's talk about their stats. There's a really good template for this in the 3E Fiend Folio, giving your character a huge buff with the stipulation that you essentially lose all of your other features and become this creature and can bite people. And that's about it. So I'm not a big fan of this template, but there are a few key points that should be taken away from this for a 5e conversion. You gain a +4 to dexterity and a +2 to constitution and charisma. You're essentially becoming an undead barbarian as a race, so you just kind of got to go with that. You can cast Windwalk as a supernatural ability, shifting in and out of an incorporeal state as a move action. You gain 120 fly speed, but you lose any and all normal movement types that you previously had. You basically just float everywhere now. Upside, no footprints. Downside, no boots. As well, because you are an undead specter, armor is pointless to you. Your body is shaggy grossness and your AC becomes 10 plus your charisma modifier, which is a minimum of 11, but not too shabby for a floating skin bag. You have immunity to cold, which makes sense, and resistance to all damage types except magical weapons or fire. You become proficient in both survival and stealth, as well as gain advantage whenever tracking a creature. This is going to become a big part of your kit because you also gain an ability called Corner of the Eye. Whenever you are tracking a victim, you always seem to be just out of the victim's field of vision, which is hella spooky, but essentially gives people disadvantage when using wisdom checks as long as you are stalking them. Your DM can figure out exactly how that works into your game, and I assume it would work right up to the point where you roll for initiative. Along with gaining the bite attack, you also gain access to the Wendigo disease, which I would argue only happens when you use your bite attack, but upon being bitten, the creature must make a DC fortitude save equal to 10 plus half your hit dice. So half your level plus your constitution modifier, or they become infected with the Wendigo's hunger. And I quote, "Each day after infection, if the creature doesn't succeed at a will save of DC 10 plus half the Wendigo's hit dice plus their charisma, the infected creature will stalk and try to kill the closest member of their own race. If it does so, it feeds on the victim's body and returns home with no memory. If the creature dies while infected," like I said, I am quoting this from the book, "he transforms into a Wendigo immediately and races off into the night sky at such a speed that his feet burn away, form into bloody charred stumps." Yeah. So that's kind of weird. That aside, Bite has an extended crit range, which is 18 to 20, and it does triple damage on a crit, as well as an additional d6 of bleed damage for 2 rounds after. Quite a big boon for you to use your Bite instead of just being like, "Woo, look at me, I'm a Wendigo, and I have a great sword." The only other thing you get is maddening whispers, which is a little complicated, but I think it really makes the character. Once per day, the Wendigo chooses a target within 120 feet, usually a creature that it's stalking, and projects insane whispers and invitations of the Wendigo into their ears that only the victim can hear. They can make the same wisdom save as before, DC 10 plus half the Wendigo level, plus their charisma modifier, or suffer 1d3 wisdom damage. But wait, 5e doesn't have wisdom damage. Well shoot, what are we gonna do about that? I really like this ability for being able to slowly cause madness of a creature that you're stalking, and considering that it's only doable once per day, I don't think 1d3 wisdom damage is really that terrifying. A good alternative would be to point of exhaustion maybe, constantly looking over your shoulder and not seeing what's following you while struggling to survive in the frozen wilds. Sounds about right. Talk to your DM if you want to try something different. Another alternative would be just a -1 to all wisdom saves or wisdom based abilities. So it's really up to your DM on how they want to roll it. But that's about it. Wendigos are great for stalking prey and being spooky as hell, and some other interesting additions could be regeneration, which is generally looked at as being a little overpowered, but you could give them 1 hit point per round per 4 levels of regen. And just keep track of fire damage. That's all it takes. Regen is great. Use regen all the time. It's awesome. We need more Wolverines in D&D. Not the character, not the little badgers. Wendigos are meant to be for horror storytelling, for the folly of greed and gluttony and cannibalism, unending hunger in some of the most inhospitable environments in the world. This is very much meant to be an evil curse that befalls a character, whether it's the horror story starting point or an interesting way to end a campaign. There are a lot of really good horror story threads here. If you want to play a Wendigo, or even if you did and you just became one by chance, there's a lot of good flavor here to make it really, really fun character. It probably tastes like barbecued feet though. Gross. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to keep your dice on the table. And yeah, the original story about Wendigos not having feet is much worse and probably not YouTube appropriate. So I would say go ahead and check that out for yourself. There's some great stuff on the Wikipedia. Special thank you to all the Patreon members who help keep this channel up and going. You're awesome. And as always, thanks for watching. Oh, what is this? Plain bagel? I'd rather eat my own feet. Sesame seed bagel. Blueberry? Blueberry's pretty good. If you stayed this long, go ahead and put a comment on your favorite bagel down the bottom. No one will know what's going on. It's going to be great. Like, comment, subscribe.